Every day, the dog looked into the sewer grate, opening which people were shocked. Stray animals are often ignored despite their large numbers on the streets, particularly in bustling cities. Yet on occasion, something happens that draws attention to these animals. One such incident involved a stray German Shepherd that captured the fascination and imagination of many with its actions. New York is a massive city, and as you can assume, there are a lot of things going on every single second. Yes, second, not minute. Some of the things that happen are just weird and confusing, others are scary, and they're not something that you'll ever want to see or even read. This one's even worse than all that. This story is one of the most shocking and the strangest that occurred the whole year. It all starts with a sad dog who is confused, but the story has expanded and become much more complex. It is one of the most viral stories online even today, but what happened? One nice day, the hero of our story was walking down the street. She saw a dog looking into a drain. He didn't move nor reacted to other people, dogs, or anything else. The woman stood there and watched the dog for an hour. Nothing changed, and then she had to do something. Many were so focused on their task that they failed to notice the small figure darting through their legs as it weaved corners, past shops and carts opening for the day. Although this is a typical sight in busy cities, what people didn't realize was that this apparently invisible German Shepherd would soon shock them with its actions. The stray German Shepherd casually walked through the narrow alleys and wide stone paths of the central square, occasionally stopping in front of apartment entrances and supermarket doors. He looked at people with a friendly expression and wagged his tail, hoping for a curious passerby or a generous salesman to share a piece of their breakfast bun or sandwich with him. She approached the drain and looked inside. What she saw was so strange, scary, and weird in so many ways. She instantly understood why the dog had been looking in the drain for days. She had to do something. What was it? The woman had to call 911 as soon as she could. This wasn't something that she could just leave and go home. This was something serious. She decided to call them and wait for them next to the drain and dog. This was too important to leave and just go home. Nothing was happening for a few minutes. No police, firefighters, no one was coming. Then they heard the sirens in the distance. But who's this woman we're talking about? The woman was born in New York City and lived there her entire life. She was a proud resident and loved living there. She'd never moved from the city elsewhere. Of course, she admits that there are problems in the city. Well, homeless people is one of them. There are too many of them and they don't get the help they deserve. The next were stray animals. There were too many of them as well. Was the dog looking in the drain a stray? Her name is Nancy Armstrong. She was actually from Brooklyn and she lived there. A fun fact is that she was curious and she's been like that her entire life. In her teenage years, this was an interesting moment. At the moment, she works as a tabloid writer and she's fine with that. This isn't a job that would change her life or something like that, but she manages. As you can assume, she enjoys finding situations like this one. This started on the weekend when she was doing something you need to hear about. Nancy was going to her local butcher shop. She does this every single weekend and she was proud of the pork sausages made there. We can even say this was her routine and a huge part of her life. Soon she met a dog doing something no one will believe. One day, returning home from the butcher's with her pork sausages, she saw the dog in the street, looking down the drain and then looking at Nancy. She was scared. Was he going to bite her? The dog was looking at Nancy for minutes and didn't move. Nancy was scared, so she didn't move either. Then she noticed one thing that made all this a bit easier to understand. Was the dog looking at her? Well, the dog was actually looking at the sausages she was carrying. She immediately decided to give a few to the dog. Nancy believed that she would do a good thing, help the dog, and at the same time the dog would leave. But the dog did something completely weird and strange. Nancy gave a sausage to the dog and watched as he started to eat it. But then he moved away from Nancy while holding the sausage in his mouth. She believes he needed privacy and he wanted to go to some back alley and eat the sausage by himself, but no. The dog moved on top of the drain and dropped the sausage inside. At the time, Nancy believed that he accidentally dropped the sausage and it wasn't a big deal. Walking back home, she started to think about the event. None of it made any sense whatsoever. What do you think happened?